Let's step back in time and talk about one of the most devastating chapters in history, the Irish Potato Famine. Now, don't let the word potato fool you. It might sound simple, but this event was far from it. Between 1845 and 1852, Ireland went through a catastrophic tragedy that left a mark on the country's socio-political landscape, its culture, and the very way we think about food security today. Why potatoes? What makes them so important? Well, potatoes weren't just lunch for most people in Ireland. They were survival. So, when a mysterious potato disease called potato blight started spreading, it was like taking away the lifeline of an entire population. Imagine being hungry, desperate, and watching your food source literally rot away overnight. But it wasn't just about hunger. The famine triggered a wave of discontent and resentment towards British rule, emigration, and even the very fabric of Irish society. Stick with me as we dig into the real story behind this, because it's not just about potatoes. It's about political turmoil, human resilience, and how agriculture can change the course of a nation's history. Let's jump in. Potatoes have gained global popularity as a crop for several compelling reasons, making them a staple food in numerous countries around the world. One of the primary factors contributing to their widespread cultivation is the ease with which potatoes can be grown. They thrive in a variety of climates and soil types, requiring relatively low maintenance compared to other crops. Potatoes are resilient and can be planted in diverse conditions, allowing farmers to cultivate them in regions where other crops might struggle. This adaptability not only makes them accessible to small-scale farmers, but also ensures a reliable food source in many communities. In addition to their ease of cultivation, potatoes are packed with nutritional benefits. They are an excellent source of carbohydrates, providing energy, and are rich in vitamins and minerals, including vitamin C, potassium, and dietary fiber. This nutritional profile makes potatoes an essential component of a balanced diet, contributing to their status as a dietary staple in various cultures. The versatility of potatoes in cooking further enhances their appeal. They can be prepared in countless ways, from mashed and baked to fried and roasted, making them a beloved ingredient in many cuisines. Culturally, potatoes hold significant importance in numerous culinary traditions. In countries like Ireland, they are integral to traditional dishes such as colcannon and boxty, while in Peru, they are celebrated for their incredible diversity with thousands of native varieties. In the United States, potatoes are a key ingredient in comfort foods like potato salad and French fries. This cultural significance not only reflects the adaptability of potatoes in various recipes, but also highlights their role in bringing people together around shared meals. As a staple food, potatoes have become a crucial part of food security in many nations, providing sustenance to millions. Their ability to grow in diverse environments, combined with their nutritional value and cultural relevance, solidifies potatoes' status as a globally cherished crop, essential for both nourishment and culinary enjoyment. The Irish Potato Famine, a devastating period from 1845 to 1852, was rooted in a complex web of socio-economic conditions that characterized 19th century Ireland. During this time, Ireland was predominantly an agrarian society, with a significant portion of the population relying on agriculture for their livelihoods. However, the socio-economic landscape was marked by stark inequalities, as a large number of Irish tenants worked the land owned by a small number of wealthy landlords, many of whom were absentee. This system of land tenure created a precarious existence for the majority, who faced poverty and food insecurity, making them heavily dependent on the potato as their primary food source. The reliance on a single variety of potato, known as the lumper, exacerbated the situation. This particular variety was favoured for its high yield and ability to grow in poor soil conditions, making it a staple for many Irish families. However, this dependence on a single crop made the population vulnerable to agricultural failures. When the potato blight struck in 1845, caused by the fungus Phytophthora infestans, the consequences were catastrophic. The blight spread rapidly, decimating potato crops across the country and leaving millions without food. This scenario highlights the dangers of monoculture, a farming practice where a single crop is cultivated over a wide area. While monoculture can lead to short-term gains in productivity, it significantly increases the risk of widespread crop failure due to pests, diseases, or environmental changes. In Ireland, the lack of crop diversity meant that when the potato blight occurred, there were few alternative food sources available to sustain the population. The resulting famine not only led to immense suffering and loss of life, but also triggered mass emigration and social upheaval, reshaping the demographic and political landscape of Ireland. Understanding the background of the Irish potato famine and its causes is crucial for recognizing the importance of agricultural diversity and the socio-economic factors that can influence food security. This historical tragedy serves as a poignant reminder of the vulnerabilities inherent in agricultural practices that prioritize a single crop over a more resilient and varied approach. The potato blight, caused by the pathogen Phytophthora infestans, had a devastating impact on Ireland and its agricultural landscape, particularly during the critical year of 1845. The symptoms of potato blight were alarming and unmistakable. Leaves would turn yellow and wilt, followed by a dark, water-soaked appearance, eventually leading to the rotting of the tubers themselves. This rapid deterioration of crops was not only visually distressing, but also signalled impending disaster for the millions of Irish who relied on potatoes as their primary food source. The blight spread swiftly across the country, facilitated by damp weather conditions that favoured the growth of the fungus, and within a short period, entire fields of potatoes were decimated. Initially, farmers reacted with disbelief and desperation as they witnessed their crops failing. Many attempted to salvage what they could, hoping that the blight would pass, or that their remaining potatoes would be unaffected. However, as the reality of the situation set in, it became clear that the blight was not a temporary setback, but a catastrophic event that would alter the course of Irish history. The impact on food supply was immediate and severe. With the potato crop failing, the staple food for a significant portion of the population vanished almost overnight. This led to widespread hunger and malnutrition, particularly among the rural poor, who had little means to access alternative food sources. The year 1845 stands as a pivotal moment in the context of the famine, marking the beginning of a series of events that would culminate in one of the most tragic episodes in Irish history. The initial crop failures set off a chain reaction of social and economic turmoil as food prices soared and the availability of sustenance dwindled. By the following years, the situation worsened, leading to mass starvation, disease, and emigration. The significance of 1845 lies not only in the onset of the blight, but also in its role as a catalyst for profound changes in Ireland, shaping the nation's identity and its relationship with food security, agriculture, and governance for generations to come. The years of the Irish Potato Famine reached their most devastating peak in 1847, often referred to as Black 47. During this harrowing period, the conditions faced by the Irish population were dire and marked by extreme suffering. As the potato blight continued to ravage crops, millions found themselves without access to food, leading to widespread starvation. The reliance on potatoes as a staple meant that when the crop failed, there were few alternatives available. Many families were left with no choice but to consume rotten potatoes, which were often the only remnants of their once thriving harvests. These decaying tubers, while still providing some caloric intake, posed significant health risks, leading to further illness and malnutrition among an already weakened population. The nutritional challenges during Black 47 were profound. With the primary food source compromised, many people suffered from severe deficiencies, leading to diseases such as scurvy and cholera. The lack of adequate nutrition weakened the immune systems of countless individuals, making them more susceptible to illness. As the famine progressed, the death toll escalated dramatically, with estimates suggesting that over 1 million people perished due to starvation and related diseases. The sheer scale of suffering was compounded by the inadequate response from the British government, which many viewed as neglectful and indifferent to the plight of the Irish people. The social and economic consequences of the famine were equally devastating. As families lost their primary means of sustenance, many were forced to abandon their homes and migrate in search of food and better living conditions. This mass emigration led to significant demographic shifts, with millions fleeing to countries like the United States, forever altering the fabric of Irish society. The famine also deepened social divisions and resentment towards British rule, as many Irish felt abandoned during their time of greatest need. The economic landscape of Ireland was irrevocably changed, with a decline in agricultural productivity and a loss of labour force, leading to long-term repercussions that would affect the nation for generations. The events of Black 47 serve as a stark reminder of the fragility of food systems and the profound impact of agricultural failures on human lives. The British government's actions during the Irish Potato Famine have been widely scrutinised and criticised for their inadequacy and inefficacy. Initially, the government implemented some relief efforts, including the establishment of public works programs aimed at providing employment for the starving population. These programs involved labour-intensive projects such as road construction and drainage works, which were intended to offer wages to those suffering from hunger. However, the effectiveness of these initiatives was limited. The wages paid were often insufficient to purchase food, and the work was grueling, leaving many unable to sustain themselves adequately. Furthermore, the programs were poorly managed and failed to address the immediate needs of the population, leading to widespread disillusionment among the Irish people. Criticism of the British response to the crisis grew as the famine worsened. Many viewed the government's actions as neglectful and indifferent, particularly in light of the scale of suffering experienced by the Irish population. The reliance on laissez-faire economic principles meant that the government was hesitant to intervene more forcefully in the agricultural market or to provide direct food aid. This hands-off approach was perceived as a failure to recognise the severity of the humanitarian crisis, leading to accusations that the British authorities prioritised economic ideology over the lives of the Irish people. Prominent figures, including Irish nationalists and social reformers, vocally condemned the government's response, arguing that it reflected a broader pattern of neglect and exploitation of Ireland by British rule. The political and social implications of British policies during the famine were profound and far-reaching. The perceived indifference of the British government fueled resentment and anger among the Irish population, deepening the divide between Ireland and Britain. This period of suffering and neglect contributed to the rise of nationalist sentiments, as many began to question the legitimacy of British rule in Ireland. The famine not only highlighted the vulnerabilities of the Irish agricultural system, but also served as a catalyst for political movements, advocating for greater autonomy and rights for the Irish people. Ultimately, the British government's actions during the famine left a lasting legacy of mistrust and animosity, shaping the trajectory of Irish history for decades to come. The Irish Potato Famine had a profound impact on emigration patterns, leading to one of the largest mass exoduses in Irish history. As the famine intensified and millions faced starvation, many Irish citizens sought to escape the dire conditions at home. The desperation for food, coupled with the loss of livelihoods and the overwhelming grief from the death of family members, drove individuals and families to seek a better life abroad. The United States emerged as the primary destination for these emigrants, offering the promise of opportunity and the hope of escaping the relentless suffering that characterized life in Ireland during the famine years. The journey for many emigrants was fraught with peril and hardship. Those who could afford passage often traveled on overcrowded ships, known as coffin ships, which were notorious for their deplorable conditions. These vessels were often poorly ventilated and lacked adequate food and sanitation facilities, leading to the spread of disease. Many passengers faced long, grueling voyages that could last several weeks, during which they endured malnutrition, illness, and the constant fear of death. Tragically, many did not survive the journey, succumbing to cholera, typhus, or other ailments. For those who did reach their destination, the challenges were far from over, as they often arrived with little more than the clothes on their backs and faced the daunting task of starting anew in a foreign land. The long-term effects of this mass emigration on Irish demographics were significant and lasting. The population of Ireland plummeted as millions left, with estimates suggesting that around 2 million people emigrated during and after the famine years. This demographic shift altered the social fabric of Ireland, leading to a decline in rural communities and a loss of cultural heritage. In the United States, Irish immigrants formed vibrant communities, contributing to the cultural landscape while also facing discrimination and hardship as they sought to integrate into American society. The legacy of this emigration continues to resonate today, as the Irish diaspora remains a vital part of global culture, and the historical memory of the famine shapes contemporary discussions about identity, migration, and resilience. The famine not only transformed the lives of those who left, but also left an indelible mark on the history and identity of Ireland itself. The Irish Potato Famine had a profound and lasting impact on the Irish language and culture, contributing to a significant decline in the use of the Irish language in the years that followed. Before the famine, Irish was widely spoken, particularly in rural areas, where it served as a vital means of communication and cultural expression. However, the devastation wrought by the famine, coupled with the mass emigration of Irish speakers, led to a sharp decline in the language's prevalence. Many who left Ireland sought to assimilate into their new environments, particularly in the United States, where English was the dominant language. This shift resulted in a generational gap, as children of emigrants often grew up speaking English rather than Irish, further eroding the language's presence. In addition to the demographic changes, there was a growing stigma associated with speaking Irish, particularly in the workforce. As Ireland transitioned into a more modern economy, English became increasingly associated with progress and opportunity. Those who spoke Irish often faced discrimination and were perceived as less educated or less capable in professional settings. This societal pressure discouraged the use of the language, leading many to abandon it in favour of English to secure better employment and social standing. Consequently, the Irish language became marginalised, and its speakers were often viewed as relics of a bygone era. Despite these challenges, there has been a remarkable resurgence of interest in the Irish language in recent years. Efforts to revitalise the language have gained momentum, fueled by a growing recognition of its cultural significance and a desire to reconnect with Ireland's heritage. Educational initiatives, community programmes, and media representation have played crucial roles in promoting the language among younger generations. Organisations dedicated to preserving and teaching Irish have emerged, fostering a renewed sense of pride and identity among speakers. This revival reflects a broader cultural renaissance as many Irish people seek to reclaim their linguistic heritage and celebrate the richness of their cultural traditions. The journey of the Irish language, from decline to resurgence, underscores the resilience of Irish culture and the enduring connection to its historical roots, even in the face of adversity. The Irish Potato Famine serves as a poignant reminder of the critical lessons learned regarding agricultural practices and food security. One of the most significant takeaways from this tragic period is the importance of agricultural diversification. The famine was largely precipitated by the reliance on a single potato variety, the lumper, which left the population vulnerable to crop failure. This overdependence on one crop not only led to widespread starvation, but also highlighted the risks associated with monoculture farming. Diversifying crops can enhance resilience against pests, diseases, and environmental changes, ensuring a more stable food supply. By cultivating a variety of crops, farmers can mitigate the risks associated with relying on a single source of sustenance, thereby promoting food security and sustainability. In today's global agriculture, the risks of modern monocultures remain a pressing concern. Many agricultural systems continue to prioritize high-yield single crops, such as corn, soy, and wheat, which can lead to similar vulnerabilities as those experienced during the famine. The reliance on a limited number of crop varieties can result in decreased biodiversity, making food systems more susceptible to diseases and climate change impacts. Furthermore, the environmental consequences of monoculture practices, including soil degradation and increased pesticide use, pose significant challenges to sustainable agriculture. The lessons from the Irish potato famine underscore the need for a more holistic approach to farming that prioritizes biodiversity and ecological balance. The relevance of these historical lessons extends beyond agricultural practices. They resonate deeply in today's discussions about food security. As the global population continues to grow and climate change poses new challenges, ensuring a stable and resilient food supply is more critical than ever. Policymakers, farmers, and communities must heed the lessons of the past, advocating for diversified agricultural systems that can withstand shocks and stresses. By learning from the mistakes of history, we can work towards creating a more secure and sustainable food future, honoring the memory of those who suffered during the famine while striving to prevent similar tragedies from occurring again. The Irish potato famine serves as a powerful reminder of the interconnectedness of agriculture, society, and the environment, emphasizing the need for thoughtful and informed approaches to food production. So, what's the takeaway from this tragic chapter in history? The Irish potato famine was a wake-up call about the dangers of relying too heavily on one crop. It redefined Ireland and set the stage for a new era of Irish nationalism, while also showing the critical importance of food security. In today's world, we're still dealing with issues like monoculture farming, climate change, and food inequality, problems that are, in many ways, direct descendants of the Irish potato famine. The lesson? Diversify your food systems. We need to learn from the past and avoid putting all our eggs in one basket. Because if one crop fails, we're all in trouble. So, as we reflect on the lessons of the famine, let's honor those who suffered and ensure that we work toward a more secure, sustainable future. If you've enjoyed this deep dive into the Irish potato famine, don't forget to like, share, and subscribe. Let's keep the conversation going about how we can learn from history to build a better world today. Thanks for watching, and we'll see you in the next video.